Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Ball is Round. I'm Hadi Raphael, and tonight on the show, MLS Cup Final is finally set. The Whitecaps and Toronto FC coaches have gone, and the Canadian women's national team played to a scoreless draw against Iceland. That and a lot more on episode 206 of The Ball is Round. And we're back as usual here on The Ball is Round every Sunday, 7:30 p.m. We're here. We don't stop, maybe just a week or two during the holidays, but we're here every week talking about CF Montreal, talking about the women's national team, the men's national team, and of course, anything related to, I would say, North American soccer and sometimes a bit of European whenever we want to have fun. Elias, you're here with me today. Unfortunately, Andy is away for tonight's episode. How are you today, Elias? I heard that you like sunny places with like trees that are kind of like the palm trees. You like palm trees, I heard. No?
Palm trees are nice.
Okay. Las Palmas. Do you like Las Palmas?
Is that palm tree in Spanish?
But I don't know. Palmas, palm. I thought it was the same.
Makes sense. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're getting at.
So Barcelona lost 2-1 at home against Las Palmas.
What are you talking? No, it's international break. What are you talking about? There's no games. You mean the men's team? No, nobody cares.
Nobody cares about the men's team.
No. Barcelona, the men's team, fine, whatever. Barcelona is first in the league and is on international break right now, and they're playing next week. I don't know. Yeah, I guess the men play too. Whatever. Here's the shit.
What's going on, man?
Something to do. No.
But you're first. You should be happy, no?
Look, I mean, Madrid has a game in hand, and they're only a point away. It's difficult. It's looking good in the Champions League. It's working. It's just he's still, I don't know, right? This is the when all your midfielders are injured, but you have like 15 midfielders, it's not the end of the world. But when your forwards are injured or your forwards need to be rotated, and you only have like 4 forwards, la ça va mal, and then you're like, okay, maybe I need to do some stuff. But you know, it's better.
But you're still first of the league. You're still
technically
first.
Yes. Technically, Madrid still have to win their game to be first, but no.
Yeah, exactly.
Look, Champions League, it's going well, and Madrid is like the last place of the play-in right now. So I'll take what I can get at this point.
You know what? I'm happy. As you can see, I'm repping Marseille's team today.
It's not often you wear the shirt on the show.
It's Kone.
Look at that.
No, it's a Kone shirt. Yeah, even if it's not going very well for him in Marseille right now, because everybody thought that he was gonna come and like be the best of the best like right away. Of course, there's a big learning curve for him. You're going from a championship league, which is the second league in England, to a top tier league in the fifth country, in the fifth league in Europe, in a very, very difficult club, which is Olympique de Marseille. So for me, it's a normal learning curve. He just needs to be very mentally strong right now, because now pressure is immense on his shoulders. I'm reading a lot of media really in Marseille, really like drilling him very, very hard, which is normal. This is what the club is all about, right? So not very good for Ishmael Kone.
You guys thought Montreal soccer media was demanding. The European soccer media, it's nothing. It makes the Habs look like like poster boys. It's crazy.
Exactly. So yeah, I was very happy today because we're first in the league now, right? First in the league. Yeah.
Officially?
First in the league. Yeah, because there's one other club, but it
Oh,
you
okay.
know, doesn't
Okay.
really count
So
because it's in
I'm
the.
not allowed to be in denial, but you're allowed to be in denial.
I'm not
Okay.
in denial, man. When the
Because you're
other
in the
club
league.
has the double of budget of the whole league, like for me, it's impossible to compete. So
This PSG side is not good, man. This PSG side
yeah,
is
they're not
not.
good, but still, like any one of their players can be a first team player in any one
Yeah,
of
that's
the
true.
League One clubs. So you know, but so we're second in the league to be more precise. Very happy we just won today against Monaco. Very good game. We just finished maybe a couple of hours ago, which is a really great 2-1 win at home. So yeah, very very excited, very happy. So let's talk about MLS because we had the semifinals or the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference finals yesterday night. It was two very interesting games, very disputed finals. You didn't have like clear winners. It was very tough for all four teams. And on the East, the Cinderella story continues for New York Red Bulls. They beat Orlando in Orlando 1-0, a goal from Andre Reyes. Honestly, I watched that game and it was really deserved. What did you think, Elias? Like, it was normal to see the Red Bulls go through, right?
Yeah, and look, I've been on the bandwagon, not the bandwagon, but I've had them as the Eastern Conference winners since they beat Columbus. And it's important to remember now, this is 3 games in a row in the playoffs. They haven't conceded a goal. They've kept 3 consecutive clean sheets on the road. So when you now look into going into LA on top of that, it adds an extra level of confidence that you can have. Because yeah, you talk about, Van Zier and you talk about Forsberg, you talk about all these attacking options that when they're in form are dangerous, but you have to give credit to the back line and to the defense as a whole because
Yeah.
they've clearly shut down. Right, Orlando is nothing to stick your nose up at offensively. They have a lot of weapons. Columbus, we know how well they could play, and you shut them out at home. Both teams. NYCFC again, right? A lot of good. Their attack has turned the corner from last year. 3 very competent attacking teams, and they've kept clean sheets at home. On the road in all 3. So going into LA without Ricky Puig, who tore his ACL, it's not as crazy as you think. That's all I'm gonna say.
No, it's not. But honestly, I was impressed by how well they were playing. Of course, they were playing in transition. Um, playing, not really low block, but like very defensive approach. And then really those attackers really like building very fast attacks with Morgan on the right, with Forsberg on the left, with Van Zier, with that was so much threats
Mm-hmm.
in that offense that every time Orlando thought that they would control and maybe choke their opponent, they were really they would have like a big slap in the face
Yeah.
because that front line goes really really fast. Is that kind of play, does it interest you to see those defensive teams really building on transition only, being very compact and then really building on that? We've seen that a lot here in Montreal. Is that something that interests you a lot, Elias?
Well, I think especially in MLS, it's the way to go when you're on the road. And one thing I love, and arguably one of, if not my single biggest pet peeve in football today, is managers that the second they're up, especially in a big game, way too early they say every forward get off. We're just putting 15 defenders. No,
Yeah.
right? And Red Bulls didn't buckle under pressure. You take your forwards out, you put on more forwards. Right? If you want to just save your legs, fine. You put your super subs in, you put your people that you use to close out games, but you don't just park the bus completely and have one forward up top and then hope for the best, because that's a recipe for disaster. You see it at every professional level, on every stage, in all these big games. Managers lose their nerve and they just park the bus and then they concede a crucial goal. And credit to the entire Red Bull's team, but also the coaching staff for saying no. We keep our shape, we do what we do, and we keep the counterattack threat, right? So you can be as organized as you want defensively. If you don't have any kind of threat that mitigates Orlando sending 9 players forward, then you're gonna eventually concede something. You're just gonna drown, right? So the fact that they held their nerve and they held their line, so deserved, and I'm so impressed with how they handled it.
Yeah, same. I'm really impressed by, and when you look at that team and you look at the players within that team, yes, we mentioned, the firepower up front with Morgan, with Forsberg, with Van Zier. Yes, they have very good fullbacks, wingbacks in Tolkien and Harper. On the right Harper, on the left Tolkien. They play with the back three. The back three is not very solid, in my opinion, with the two the Nealis brothers and Reyes, and they still manage to do a lot. And in the midfield, Stroud and Edelman, they're good, but they're not like over the top. So they were able to go to MLS Cup with not a lot, right? Like,
Yeah.
We've been talking here in Montreal about spending money. And yes, they do have a number 10 in Emil Forsberg that they spend a lot on. Yes. But the rest is really MLS caliber. Nothing really crazy about that. I'm not sure if Dante Van Zier was signed for a lot of money. I don't remember. I don't think so. But
nothing like record breaking or whatever.
Exactly. So for me, that's very interesting. But I want to talk to you about one play in Andre Reyes. Andre Reyes at one point has a yellow card. He scored the goal, of course. Has a yellow card and has a very, very, very high boot in the middle of the park. And I can't understand how that wasn't another yellow card. For me, I feel that Orlando fans can feel hard done because this should have been a second yellow card, and it should have been a red card for Andre Reyes at that point. And I still can't believe that it wasn't given. What did you think about that play, Elias?
Yeah, and that's one of the things about VAR, right? If he looks back at it, maybe he says, "Oh, it's a second yellow," but that's not what falls under the yellow cards. Don't fall under the mandate of VAR.
Yeah.
We have the benefit of replay, and we look at it, we go, like, "Oh, yeah, this is." Let's just say he's very fortunate, right? And maybe it's a soccer god smiling. If I was Orlando, I have every right to be upset because the player that should be sent off, made the difference. But and also, look, when you're chasing a goal and you're down to 10 men, then you kind of start to panic and you park the bus and maybe you drown. But at the end of the day, you beat the team in front of you, and Orlando had every opportunity to win that game or at least draw level, and they didn't take it. So Orlando should not be looking at that as the reason they lost. You're at home, you have all this momentum. You have, again, they also did beat some big teams and some long odds to make it to the conference final. And look, you can't be upset with how this turned out when it was your game to lose.
And talking about Orlando, honestly, when you have such a team and so many good players in your team, when on your bench you have Luis Muriel, you have Duncan Maguire and Nicolas Lodeiro. We're not going to talk about the fullbacks that came in also, but you have Muriel, Maguire, Lodeiro coming in. On the field, you have Facundo Torres, you have Ojeda, you have Angulo, you have Enrique. You have some very good players here too. You have a very good defense with Jansen, with the goalkeeper Galese too. I still can't understand why you're not playing attractive football in a way. They seem flat and they're so boring to watch. Like, I've watched quite a few games for Orlando this season, and it's never been interesting. It's always been very, very boring. What do you feel about that when you see so much talent and so little to show for?
Yeah, and you're not wrong. It's very it's either it's predictable or it's one dimensional, and you could tell that what they want to do, and they have enough talent more often than not that no matter no matter how easily you see it coming, they could still get through and get a result, and that's why they're fourth place in the conference. But when it comes to crunch time, when you come to the conference final and stuff like that, that doesn't fly. And I hope that Orlando takes this as kind of a wake-up call, in that we have the personnel. They have the personnel to make the MLS Cup Final, let alone the conference final, guaranteed. Even with Miami and Cincinnati and Columbus there, they have the attacking threat that if they hit the right moments, they can beat big teams without a doubt in my mind. But you have to have this setup and this philosophy that we can play through different situations. And if one thing isn't working and you have a complete meltdown, that's what teams that don't make the playoffs or barely make it the playoffs and lose in the first round do, right? That's not what teams who go far in the playoffs do. We saw it in both conferences, where you have teams that have really good players or really good setups, and the second that they come into some kind of unknown variable or they have to think on their feet, they completely fall apart. And that comes down to coaching, right? If players are instructed to do this, this, and this, and again, like you said, right, it's a very rigid system. Players, it amazes me why a team with this much creativity and this many technically talented players are not given the freedom to interpret the game as they see it. Because you have the talent, 100%. You have the people with the on-ball skills that if you say once you get to the final third, you could do whatever you want. Just go where you feel dangerous. And then you manage the rest of the game whenever you're not in the final third. And you could find success. So this is down to coaching for me, because on paper, this should not have been a 1-0 loss. But Red Bulls are so good, man. Red Bull. I love it. This is early season Red Bulls that we saw, like the first month and a half of the season.
Yeah, no, they're very interesting. So, unfortunately, this was the end of the road for the Orlando SC team. Not sure, pretty sure we're going to see Oscar Pereira back with the team next year. Will we see the same players coming back? I doubt it. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see what's going to happen. Let's look at the Western Conference Final between the LA Galaxy and the Seattle Sounders. Yes, the LA Galaxy were favorite. Yes, they won 1-0, but oh my God, was it hard to get it. Oh, wow. How hard was it? You can never say that Seattle Sounders are not favored in a tie. They're so good. They're so experienced. They're so well coached by Brian Schmetzer, who's one, I think, the best manager in MLS history. I'm sorry, Bruce Amarina. I'm sorry, all the other Sigi Schmidt and all the other greats. For me, Brian Schmetzer topped them all. He's just so amazing, being able to rebuild after all these years. He's had so many good teams. It's never been the same team that he coached. So many players came in and then retired, and Seattle is still up top, still arriving in a down year, an off year for them, still arriving in the Western Conference Final. Like, how good was that tie? And how amazing was Seattle in that game? Because yes,
this was a lot more
won.
fun than the Red Bulls Orlando game. I have to say, this was, because again, this is a game where you really don't know what's going to happen, and it was a later goal, so you really had to there was an anticipation. Once you score 2 minutes into the half, or whatever, it was 2 or 3 minutes into the half that Red Bull scored, you kind of know how the rest of the game is going to play out. And this is what we talked about when, people who decide games, right? These are people who, and you look at the Joveljic, I think, I'm sorry if I butchered the name.
Joveljic, yeah.
Right? 20 goals this year, something like that, right? He was among the Golden Boot contenders this year. It's a goal out of nothing, really, right? Butch finds a little bit of space. It's a shot from outside the box. It's across his body, all that stuff, but you make it work. And that's the kind of player that, right, when you don't really have anything going for you in this particular sequence, I'll make it work. And that really is a lot of the time. That's the difference between winning or losing in MLS, but it's also a difference between having a side that doesn't really get far in the playoffs and a side that's going to the MLS Cup Final. It's just that one player that you give him an inch and he's going to win you the game. And a lot of teams, Montreal included, right? You have Joseph Martinez, who was that at the end of the season. But for 2/3 of the season, you didn't have someone like that. And when stuff goes wrong, you don't have someone to say, I can get you a goal. If you need a goal to either salvage a point or find a winner, I'll get you one. Right? That's what Joseph Martinez was, and that's what Montreal has to find again. But that is still, this league is still growing, and that is still the most important commodity in MLS is a player that can get you something out of nothing. And he did it again. I mean, that's all I can say about that.
Yeah, and Dejan Jovic is of course Serbian. Serbian. He plays with Serbia, but he's born in Bosnia. Whatever. Such a talented player. He played in Red Star Belgrade. He played in Frankfurt in Germany. He got loaned a couple of times in Austria and in Belgium. Never really made it in Europe. Wasn't really a starting player in any of those teams except in Austria, where he scored 18 goals or something like that, if I remember correctly. And now he's in the Galaxy. He's been here for a while. He's been here since I think 3 years ago. Let me go check. Yeah, the 2021. He's been here since 2021, and he's only 25. And
Yeah.
this is what MLS is able to do. They're able to go bring that talent that nobody really believes in anymore in Europe and give them a life or a professional life here in MLS. And you know what? This guy really worked so hard to become who he is right now and to be able to score 19 goals this year in 2024. And this is the best season he's had in his professional career. And what a goal. What a goal. It was so hard to score from that spot in that angle. It wasn't very easy, right? So, yeah, that's nice. And that's nice to see that it's not always, the Ricky Puig, the Marco Reus, those players that you think that you paid multiple million on that are gonna make the difference. Paintsil, those players that they played a lot for. It's not really them that made the difference. It's him, because Ricky Puig just gave him like a normal.
It was
goal.
a layup. It wasn't anything. It wasn't
exactly.
like
It wasn't like
an
amazing assist, right? So yeah, you can make a lot from fringe players, and this is what you got. You got an MLS Cup Final, the first final for the LA Galaxy since 2014.
Wow.
They've been in 10 MLS Cup Final already, won 6 of them, and it's been a while that we haven't seen the Galaxy in the end. How important is this for the LA Galaxy fans and also for the MLS? Because yes, you have all those newcomers that come with a lot of money and are very important, but at the same time, you need your historic franchises to really come up big. And now we're seeing that with, of course, the Galaxy. We saw that with the Seattle Sounders too. How important is that for the MLS too?
Look, you need your established clubs. And I was thinking about this earlier today. You need your established clubs to continue to find success, because it's been a very difficult, couple years for LA Galaxy fans with chronic underperformance and how good LAFC's been, and the MLS Cup Finals and the MLS Cup Championships and all this award and everything, right? MVPs. It's been one-way traffic in El Tráfico, no pun intended, for a while. And just this kind of, whether it's a reward for the fan that stayed loyal, whether it's recompense for a franchise that is, again, right, one of the original franchises. This is, I can't remember the last time. I tried to look it up, I couldn't find it, but I can't remember the last time it was 2 founding members of MLS that met in the final. It's been it's definitely been a long time since
Yeah.
that's happened. Because again, in the Eastern Conference, it's the founding clubs have not had a as good a go of it lately.
Now it's
So
not really the same New York club, right, than it was before, right? So because it was the Metro Stars first, so it's not really.
yeah, but like I mean, when MLS was found, like founding members
Yeah,
of MLS, like when they
yeah.
first started, right? In what is it, 90?
6.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I'm someone who likes. I'm still somewhat of a traditionalist when it comes to sports in general. So I like it when clubs that have been around for a while are finding success, especially when, look, I mean, LA Galaxy brought in a lot of players and spent a lot of money, but it's not like, they were just splashing cash left, right, and center and trying to get as many players as possible and huge names and stuff like that. It was still done with a philosophy in mind. So it makes me happy to see that, clubs with an established history are still kicking. And it's good because remember, everyone was kind of annoyed with the LA Galaxy when they were winning back to back to back, and they were in every MLS Cup final. And it was like, okay, we're getting sick of you. They go away, and absence makes the heart grow fonder. You're like, oh, you know what? You're back. Welcome back. You earned it. So it's a different tone of voice than the last time they were here.
No, exactly, exactly. So, as I said, last time they were in the final was in 2014. They
10 years.
lost in that final against I'm trying to find that against no they won, sorry, against the New England Revolution. They won 2-1, but like they finished second in the league and won MLS Cup. uh, you know, it would be nice to see like 10 years later the Galaxy team, lifting up the trophy.
Yeah.
At the same time, it would be nice to see the Red Bulls lifting up the trophy for the first time in their history too.
They,
So,
yeah, there's no bad option for the casual. There's no bad
okay.
option.
So now if I have to ask you, Elias, if you had to choose the one that you would like to win, not the one that you think is going to win, without analysis, like your heart, like talk with your
Yeah.
heart. Who do you think is going to be able, is the one that you're going to back, and who's going to cheer for?
Cheer for, because I was so high on them at the start of the playoffs, and it's the first in franchise history. I'd love to see Red Bulls win. Um, yeah, I'd love to see Red Bulls win. I think they deserve it, and especially with how rough it's been lately for them, because it's
Yeah.
been rough. So
And you said it a bit earlier in the pod, but Robbie confirmed it here,
yeah,
saying they confirmed that Ricky Puig tore an ACL in the Western Conference Final, so they're not going to be. He's not going to be in the final this year.
Hmm.
So yeah, so that's going to be very interesting, I think, going forward to see that MLS Cup. MLS Cup is next week on the 7th of
Yep.
December. So of course you can see that on the Apple TV, the MLS Season Pass. Not me. I know I am like advertising, the channel, but whatever. This is
Apple,
where
where's
you
our
can see
money? Apple,
it.
where's
Give
our
us money,
money?
please. Give us money. We need money. So yeah. So this is it. MLS Cup, almost the end. If you had to rate this season as of right now, what would you how would you rate it?
I was
Like,
gonna
of
rate
course,
it like
we're looking at
overall.
the CF Montreal season, and it's been very weird season as
Yeah,
usual. But like when you look at the MLS altogether, I think it's been a very nice
I was gonna
year
rate
for
it
MLS.
like a 7, like a six and
Oh,
a half or a 7, because Miami coming in and breaking the points record and then running with the table. Everyone's like, okay, but we expected this. Like, come on. But with these playoffs and how good they've been, it bumps it up to like an 8 for me
nice.
when I look at it, all of it, especially if we get a classic MLS final. I think it bumps it up to an 8 just because I really think the playoffs salvaged it because of the fact that, like, in the supporter shield, like 4 of the top 5 are gone after round 1. I love that. Um so yeah, the playoffs were phenomenal. The season was good. I'm not gonna lie. The season was good, but the playoffs were phenomenal.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. But you know what? I think we're forgetting a few things during the season. I think what I really liked about the season was not only, of course, yes, Miami winning the league, winning the Supporter Shield. Yes, that was a bit, expected. But the way they won the league, even if I'm not a big fan of the model of Inter Miami, the way they won the league is really remarkable. That's the
Mhm.
first thing. The second thing that we tend to forget is that Columbus Crew lost in the final of the CONCACAF Champions League,
Yep.
won the League's Cup, and yes, unfortunately lost in the MLS Cup, against the Red Bull. But like, what a great season they had, the Crew, because every year we say if you go deep into the Champions League, most of the time it's very hard for you to compete in the playoffs. It's very
Mhm.
hard for you to compete in the league, which wasn't the case for the Columbus Crew because they were able to finish, I think, third or fourth, overall, which is great in the MLS standings. So when you look at that all together, the MLS, all the ups and downs of CF Montreal and still being able to arrive to qualify for the play-in, with all those the success story of Miami FC, the Miami FC, CF. I said Miami FC. Yeah, so Inter Miami and everything else that the Crew went through. I really love it. And then you look at the MLS Cup playoffs. That was amazing too. So I would give it an 8, like from the get go, even
Okay.
before the MLS Cup playoffs. And the MLS Cup playoffs for me came and just solidified my rate in a way. So no, really loved that season. It's been amazing. Can't wait to
Yeah.
watch. Of course, the MLS Cup. It's gonna be epic. Pretty
Also,
sure.
I just checked. The last time the Galaxy were in the final was also the last time founding teams were both in the final. It was them against the Revolution.
Yeah,
So that was the
against the
last
Revolution.
time the final had both teams were original founding 1996 clubs.
Oh wow. Okay. Interesting. Interesting. Good. So I don't know, guys. Who are you rooting for? I see a lot of people here from that are here from every week. We see Patrick. Patrick is saying United smoked Everton. Yes,
It did.
United. Much. No, who's United? DC United. They smoked Everton. I'm joking.
Did
Manchester
they play
United, of
an
course.
MLS club? They beat a Premier League club?
Smoked Everton. It's been a while that we haven't seen that sentence. We have Robbie, of course, that talked to us about Ricky Pooch. That's here. So, what are your guesses? What do you think is going to happen next Saturday? If you want to interact with us, feel free to do so. Moving on, we do have quite a few. Oh, Robbie's saying he's rooting for the Red Bulls. Same as you, Elias. Same as you.
Robbie knows
Same as
ball, man. Robbie knows
yeah,
ball.
yeah. I'm a bit more with the Galaxy because I like to see. I think a stronger Galaxy is very good for the league. And I feel that it makes the league even stronger than what it is. So that's the reason why I would go for the Galaxy. And then I'm a big, big, big fan of Marco Reus. Love him.
It's the only
So
thing. Now that Ricky Puch is out, it's the only thing I'm cheering for is Marco Reus.
good. So moving on, let's still talk MLS, and we have to talk about our rivals, our Canadian rivals
Yes.
within MLS, because both of them made the same decision or have the same outcome because it's
Yeah.
not the same decisions. So we have the Vancouver Whitecaps that relieved Vanni Sartini from his duties, and John Herdman resigning as a Toronto FC coach.
Yeah.
Elias, surprised. What did you think about those two announcements?
Both were fairly surprising. I think that John Herdman one leads to more speculation than the Vanni Sartini one. I think Vanni Sartini it may just be like either it's fatigue or if it's looking for a new challenge or if I don't know what the exact reason is. I don't know if he gave an exact reason. But the John Herdman one is definitely concerning if you're a supporter of him. Because again, this came right after the drone gate, and I hate talking about drone gate. It pisses me off, but it's the timing is not. It can't be ignored. And look, I for one did not think he was the right fit for the club, and
Nobody
I,
did. Nobody did.
I don't think he's been around a lot long enough for that opinion to be vindicated or refuted. I think that it's kind of we won't get a good idea. I don't think it would have panned out anyway, but now we'll never know for sure. All that's clear is that Toronto has to rebuild from the foundation up. It's not they have to complete rebuild at this point.
Yeah, but again, because they did rebuild around the two Italians with John Hurt before John Herdman came in, and then they thought by getting John Herdman they would get a leader of men because that's what John Herdman is. He's not a massive tactician; he's a leader of men. So they thought that he would make everybody gel together, create something really interesting, create a dressing room atmosphere, and get them flying. And this didn't happen either under John Herdman. Yes, of course, we had the drone gate that we talked about that, of course, had some effect. But still, I agree with you, Elias. I don't think that this was the best decision from the TFC front office when they hired John Herdman. I was very surprised, to be honest. And, we all wanted him to leave the men's national team, even if we respected what he did with the men's national team before. Now with the drone gate, maybe a bit less. So it's going to be interesting. I didn't see him talk to the media himself. I didn't see anything that said that he spoke with the media, but I'm pretty sure that he's going to make himself available for all the inquiries that are going to come because of the drone gate. So I think that's the reason why he resigned, just because I think he was called upon to talk about a few things, and he couldn't because he had his professional duties, so he couldn't attend. So a lot of people were saying, he's trying to get away. So is that maybe the reason why he resigned? Because he wants to make himself available and prove his case that he wasn't as bad as people are saying? I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think there's somewhere this is the reason why he left and he resigned from Toronto FC?
I think it's a combination of a lot of things, because there was no
that played a role,
action.
Right?
Yeah, but there was no punishment from Canada Soccer to John Herdman, right? He was already gone as coach. Bev Priestman was said, Bev Priest is not coming back, but John Herdman as an entity didn't really get a punishment from Soccer Canada because he had already left, or it wasn't yet. We didn't yet find out what the punishment was.
Yeah.
So is it possible that his punishment would have been a suspension? It's very possible that it was a suspension. But again, this is all stuff that maybe will come out in the coming weeks. But I think that all the things happening at the same time, the way his relationship with Insigne and Bernadeschi to an extent, but mostly Insigne completely imploded, the way that they ended the season with 6 or 7 losses in 8 or 9 games, something like that. The way that they completely fell out of the playoff spot, the way that everything kind of collapsed at the same time, it may just have been too much. And you have to say, look, I need to kind of maybe find a change of scenery, maybe step away from Canadian soccer for a bit, because I don't think he's going to go to the CPL because maybe he thinks it's beneath him, but he probably has to take a step back from coaching for a little bit.
He's gonna take a step back for a year or two and
maybe go back to England. There's a million clubs in England.
But England, he's gonna find I don't think he's gonna find. Maybe he'll find tops a championship club, and even there, I think it's a bit.
I was gonna say a League One team, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be more of a League One team than a championship club. So I don't know. Let's wait and see. I'll be very surprised to see him getting a lot of a lot of contacts from
Robbie
abroad.
said, Robbie said, Vanni to Toronto. He can talk to the Italians.
That was my suggestions, honestly, on Twitter, and this is what I suggested. And honestly, but first, let's talk about the Whitecaps, and then we'll talk about possible candidates for both positions. This was a shock.
Yeah,
Honestly,
100%.
I wasn't expecting that at all. I understand that the Whitecaps, made some substantial investments in the team, and they were maybe expecting more than just the first round of playoffs, because I think they won the play-in and then they lost in the first round.
Yeah,
the Whitecaps, but they lost against LAFC in the third game, so like they made it, as far as they can. LAFC is still a very strong team, so
again,
I feel,
again,
yeah. So I feel that was a bit harsh for Vanni Sartini, and the way he built that team, and he was like, let's not kid ourselves, right? It's been a while that we haven't seen the Whitecaps so dominant in the MLS. I don't think we've ever seen the Whitecaps that dominant in the MLS, except under Vanni Sartini. Even in the past, it's always been a club that wasn't really doing much. And under Vanni Sartini, they were able to really create things.
Mhm.
We saw the Ryan Golds, we saw the Brian Whites, we saw all those players really come and become part of the MLS elite under Vanni Sartini. So I feel that it was a bit too harsh. What do you think, Elias?
I think they should have given him the benefit of the doubt, given the trajectory the club was on. Right? I understand if you take a general look at just where they've ended the season, you don't really see any progression, but you see, Canadian championships plural. You see him completely revitalize the city's interest in the club. You see that he became not only a locker room favorite, but a fan favorite. He loves the city loves him back. He is great publicity for your club because he's such a great personality. He is, as far as man managers go, he is one of the most tactically adept man managers in MLS. He's one of those coaches that can kind of do it all, and he has this innate ability to win you over no matter who you are. Right? I think everyone, even in Montreal, was like, this guy's awesome. Right? And this is even when, Montreal had Wilfried Nancy, so it's not like we were exactly starved for a coach in Montreal. But you still look at Vanni Sartini like that's a cool dude, right?
Yeah.
And so it seems like he ticked every box. And I understand that this is probably the biggest, concentrated investment in the squad that the Whitecaps have ever made, in terms of multiple players being brought in that are costing quite a lot. So maybe the ownership got impatient, but it seemed like they were on the right track. Maybe they weren't on the right track fast enough. But again, right, 3 years, 0 playoff games won, playoff rounds, won. I understand why they're upset. I just think it was maybe a year too early, right? If the same thing happens next year,
they won the play-in, right?
Yeah, yes, but they didn't pass the first round, right?
They still won the play-in. Like, it was better than last year, right? So
it was, but
it's an advancement.
I think this was a year too early. I think if it happens the same thing next year,
and he won the Canadian Championship twice.
Yes,
in a row.
Yes, and that is super important. I'm trying to see. I'm trying
Stop
to walk
being
in.
devil's advocate, man. Stop being the devil's advocate.
I said it was too early. I said it was too early. I think it's still too early. I'm just trying to understand where the Whitecaps ownership or the direction.
They want to win. They made very big investments. They want to win MLS Cup. It's as simple as that.
Respectfully, the investments you made are not enough to win.
Based
on the strength of the squad, it's not enough to win the MLS Cup on just purely strength of your squad, moving heaven and earth and willing their way. You still need the tactics, and that's what Vanni Sartini kind of did really well. They have a very strong squad, and they were probably lower than they should have been in terms of the overall season.
Because that was the reason why they fired Van.
Well, they ended up with LAFC,
that,
right? You finish one round up, and you don't have to play a top 2 team, right?
Yeah.
So I understand that. I still think it was a year too early, though.
I agree with you, but I
sorry, but
yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. But like, they have like 3 DPs with Kubas, with Gold, with Stuart Armstrong. They have Pedro Vite. They have Deber Casedo. They have Canadian internationals with Sam Adekugbe, with Ali Ahmed. There's a lot of talent in that team. There's a lot of talent, and you have a good goalkeeper in Takaoka. You have some good defenders in Blackman, in Veselinovic, in Laborda. You do have some good players, and let's not forget Sebastian Bellharter. That's been very good for them too in the midfield. They signed Damir Krelak also this year. They have depth, they have quality, they have everything. But still, that I agree with you that expecting to win MLS Cup for me is not so far-fetched with that team. I don't think it's far-fetched. Now, what I think it is, I think it takes time to build that winning team, and Vanni Sartini should have had that extra year. This is my opinion. Look at all those we agree. Together. We agree. Yeah. We agree. Both of us, we agree.
You look at all those people. They had 1 year together, right, with everybody involved. Last year, they brought in a lot of the pieces, but as a finished product, they have 1 year together. That's not enough.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. So let's talk about possible candidates. And that's something that I proposed. There's Vanni Sartini in Toronto. Honestly, I think this is the kind of coach that you want in Toronto, because he takes a lot of place. So he will make sure that the Italians get what he's asking from them. I think he would get in their face, I think, if they're not doing what he wants. And I think you need that very strong manager in order to get them going and get them, going the direction that you want them to go. So I would love to see Vanni Sartini with Toronto. Would love for Vanni Sartini, because I think would be interesting for him to go prove himself elsewhere. I wouldn't really love it as a CF Montreal, follower, because I think they would be very strong under Vanni Sartini, in my opinion. But do you feel that he's a fit?
Yes and no. I think he'd be. I don't think he'd be a great fit for Insigne. I think he would ask too much of Insigne in terms of just work rate. And you see how the Vancouver Whitecaps play. You see the work he asks his players, especially his forwards, to do off the ball and be involved in the press. Bernardeschi's still fit. That's not a problem. Freaking John Wordman had him playing wing back, and you look good. That's not a problem. But Insigne, with his work rate, you ask him to do that, and I don't think he could do that. And even if you have him motivated, right? Look, Lorenzo Insigne was motivated this year too at the beginning of the season, and he looked his best form at the beginning of the year, and he looked like, okay, they finally figured it out. And the MLS season takes its toll, and you're not you lose that part of him. So I think he's a good fit as an overall manager. Specifically for Lorenzo Insigne, I do not think he's a good fit. So I think you just have to balance, you have to kind of think of what's more important, right? Lorenzo Insigne or the direction of the club. And if Lorenzo Insigne wants to just come off the bench and be a super sub in the last half hour of the game and kind of do whatever he wants, and if you need a goal, you throw him in there, that's one thing. But if you're not getting your money's worth, then you're spending way too much money for a super sub. That's not how that works.
But I feel that he would bench him without any problems.
I completely agree with you. But if we're talking about Vanni Sartini getting the Italians on board,
But
Bernardeschi,
at
I'm
one
not
point,
concerned.
he will get on board because he wants to play, right? So
Because Insigne is not, like, you saw it, right? It doesn't matter the manager, he will stick to his guns. And even if he does say, okay, Vanni, I'm on board, let's do it. Physically, this is not the player that you can ask to do Vanni Sartini's press. It's a lot of running. And I don't think he's done half the running needed in the last 2 years.
yeah.
Not to mention the fact that he struggles with fitness. So I don't think that's the right fit for Insigne. Honestly, my first thought when he left was Bobby Smirniotis.
Yeah.
I think if you want to do a proper rebuild, you get someone who has had arguably the most successful rebuild in Canadian soccer in the last 10 years. I think you go with him.
Oh man, I think it's. Man, I really want Bobby Smirniotis to get into MLS, but I'm so afraid for him because if he doesn't get the right club for him,
100%.
he will get smashed right away just because, he's coming from CPL. A bit like Joel Waterman was with CF Montreal.
Took him
Every
a
time
year,
he
and
had
it
a
was
bad
excellent.
game, it was, he comes from CPL. He's a CPL player. Until now, he has proven he's been with the club for what, 4 years now?
5 years now.
4 or 5 years,
Yeah,
Joel
for a
Waterman.
while.
And until now, people are saying, he's not the MLS caliber. He's playing with the national team, and people are saying he's not MLS
People
caliber
are saying that
he comes
because
from the
people love to
KPL.
complain, man.
Exactly, but like
He's been MLS caliber since 2022.
all I'm saying, at least Joel Waterman, he's on the pitch and he can prove himself. Bobby Smirniotis, as a coach, it's very hard to prove yourself when you have players that are not following you, like Lorenzo Insigne and Federico Bernardeschi. So I feel that the future of Toronto FC is without the two Italians. They need to make to offload them or find another team for them or whatever. Like, they can't be here anymore. That's what I feel should happen. Let's wait and see if that's gonna happen, or if some other manager is gonna come and find that find a way to make them click and to make them click within the team and get results. As for the Whitecaps, what kind of manager do you feel? That's where I see Bobby Smirniotis personally. That's where I see him.
Yes, but the thing is, if Vanni Sartini is leaving, it could give us any conclusion is that they want to win now.
Yeah.
Bobby Smirniotis first of all, Bobby Smirniotis, and we kind of talked about this when he was up for grabs from both the Montreal job and the Canada job.
Yeah.
He is the coach and the sporting director at Forge. He runs the entire ship. Yeah. It is his project. He does what he wants with the club, and it's worked. I don't know if clubs are going to be jumping at the idea of saying, we're giving you the entire keys to the kingdom, and you can do whatever you want with it.
I don't think he's going to request the entire piece of the kingdom.
No, but I'm saying he is doing great right now.
Yeah.
Right? So it's more a motivation of why he wants to leave his project right now. If you want to attract Bobby Smirniotis away from Forge, the promise of just being in a higher league is not enough. You need to also give him a project he wants to do. He's been around the block.
Are you giving him? No, but Elias, I don't agree. You're giving him an MLS job.
Yes, but if you're saying
with the MLS,
we want you to come coach, but
with the MLS financials. 1 second, with the MLS budgets, with a Ryan Gold, with a Brian White, with the Stuart Armstrong, with 3 DPs, with Pedro Vide, with Damir Kralak, like, you have some very talented players there.
Yes,
and yeah, he's going to be able to play around with the squad a bit, but like, the main pieces are there. I don't think he's going to land a job in Canada. I don't think he's going to land a job where he's going to be able to build a team from the ground up. even at Toronto, because at Toronto, the culture that they have, they want to win now.
Yeah, but Vancouver's closer to winning now than Toronto is. So they have to kind of make that concession, or until Toronto makes that concession that they are not in any position to win now. They're not even close to a position to win now. They're going to keep on doing exactly what they're doing, which is chronically underperforming. If they want to say we not suck, but we will drop our expectations for 2 years, give him the keys to the kingdom, and say, turn this club into a winning club your way, the way he has shown. Because again, Forge, it's sustainably successful, right? There's a conveyor belt of talent coming in and a culture there. So if he wants to build it from the ground up, this is the perfect time. Maybe next year's the perfect time, actually, probably better.
Exactly.
But
You
then
answered. You answered yourself.
The thing is, they can't tread. This is their last year with the Italians. They can't tread water, right? So this is the weird situation they were in. If you get Vanni Sartini, it's not a 1-year thing. You're in this for a couple years.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. For me, Vanni Sartini with Toronto, Bobby Smearidis with Whitecaps. This is what I want to see. This is
I wouldn't hate that.
what
I
makes
would not
sense.
hate that at all.
This is what makes sense.
I
If you
would
had
love
to
that.
choose right now 2 candidates for those 2 jobs.
Yeah.
There's also, you do have a Jim Curtin also that could come and we have Salam really that just sent something that I will not publish on Facebook. I don't know that club, Salam. Okay, so I'm not even putting it on the live thing. Yeah, so so if so we do have Jim Curtin that could come and take one of those spots. Do you feel that there's a possibility for Jim Curtin to get one of those 2 spots? I don't think so personally. So
No, if the club were to go in on Jim Curtin, sorry, I think he'd be more likely to be Toronto than Vancouver. Because he's an established name, he has a big name, he has had success in MLS, and if they want to win now, and maybe a little stubbornly win now, that's who they would go for. Is it the right decision? No, but will they still do it? Probably. But yeah, I don't think Jim Curtin is the right pick for either team.
Yeah, I think Jim Curtin, this is a coach that will need to really build something from the ground up, and he needs time. I don't think he can have that direct impact right away. And those 2 teams need a direct impact like as soon as possible. Like Toronto, if it's not 2025, 2026, they have to be at the top of their game. And for Vancouver, I think 2025 is going to be this season where they would want to win MLS Cup. So I think we both agree on that. Moving on, last but not least, our women's national team drew a scoreless draw 0-0 against Iceland. Iceland, becoming a very good opponent, right? Like really, really, I think they're in the top 30 in the world. They grew so much. The program really developed itself a lot. They're really playing better soccer, but still are very much a team that the Canadian women's national team should beat easily. Unfortunately, a 0-0 draw. Let's look at the starting 11 of that game, with Cindy Tai really choosing that starting 11. Of course, there were a lot of changes, also with a lot of injuries, with Kadisha Buchanan injured, Evelyn Vian injured, and so on, so on. Chloe Lacasse also injured, exactly. So we had Sabrina D'Angelo in goal, so not Caitlin Sheridan, but Sabrina D'Angelo. We had Ashley Lawrence on the left this time, with the back 4 with Zadorsky and Vanessa Gilles. Jade Riviere on the right. In the midfield, we had Awujo, Simi Awujo, Julia Grosso, and Marie-Yasmin Alidou. And then we had Leon on the right and Becky on the left with Michelle Prince up front. And it changed a bit during the game. That front three became front two. I don't know. It was a bit weird, the things that happened during the game. Um, Not a lot of chances created, Elias. How can you explain
No.
that?
I'm hoping this is because it's such a rotated squad and it's a lot of people that don't have much chemistry with one another. But I can't really say that. You have people. Well, I mean, the three big rotations that stick out to me are Zadorsky, Alidou, and Riviere, because we haven't seen them consistently with the national team for some time now due to injury or just non-inclusion. Julia Grosso is with the team over the summer, here and there, sporadically, but when you look at the people missing on this team and you think creative players, well, I mean, Chloe Lacasse and Keish Buchanan, I don't want to call them missing because they're gone for a year, right? So it's not like, oh, they'll be there next window. It's like, no, they're going to be there in a year. We can talk about Chloe Lacasse and Keish Buchanan's inclusion and the impact they're going to bring if this four-back sticks, next Christmas. But I'm more concerned with the middle of the park because this is now maybe a little bit prematurely. This is time for Simi Wujo to kind of take control of the middle of the field without Jessie Fleming next to her. We've established that Quinn still injured. Simi Wujo stepped up and made this her own. She now has that spot next to Jessie Fleming. With Jessie Fleming not there, she now has to do a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of just the work, right? The running. Julia Grosso is not going to do the heavy running that Jessie Fleming does, right? That's just not what her profile is. It's not in her repertoire. So if you have two creative midfielders like Julia Grosso, like Grosso Alidou, and then you also have three forwards in front of you, I'm expecting you to it's got to be quick, right? You have Jade Riviere, you have Ashley Lawrence on the side. Now you have full attack, and the first half it was okay. In the first half, they were creating some space. They were the one-touch passing. They were breaking lines quickly, and it was efficient here and there. But any sense of sustained danger wasn't there. And this sense that, oh, this is coming, just give it 5 more minutes, and there's a goal. No, because they would have a chance, and then Iceland would be able to build out from the back. They'd be able to clear their lines. They even get some pressure on the back line, and then Canada will kind of have to reset. So that was my bigger concern, was the fact they didn't get to impose the tempo of the game for a long stretch. There was no 15, 20 minutes where it was just all Canada. That was the big problem for me.
Yeah, I feel you're a bit harsh on Simi Awuja. I don't think she had a good game. I agree with you. But I don't think that she had that this is the pressure that was putting on her on this game without Jessie Fleming. I feel that for me, the fact of not having Jessie Fleming, the role of Jessie Fleming was divided into two, and a part of the role had to be taken by Julia Grosso, and the other part had to be taken by Marie-Yasmin Alidou, and not Simi Awujo. Simi Awujo should have done what Simi Awujo does, and she didn't do it. That I agree with you. She had a disappointing game, and I agree with you there. But I don't feel that she had to do more in that game. I loved the game of Julia Grosso. It's the only player that really I liked in that team. So yeah, that's the only player that I really liked in that team. So yeah, I think that you're a bit harsh with the Simi Awujo. I think Marie-Yasmin Alidou in the midfield, it's not really her position, and it shows. I would have liked to see her, take the place of Adriana Leon or Janine Becky, or even up front of Michelle Prince. I think she's better there with pace, with a lot more pace, a lot more space also. But yeah, I think it was a wrong tactical choice, in my opinion.
What would you have liked
in
to
the
see?
midfield.
You want to see, like in terms of people or formation?
But Jessie Fleming was available, so she came in from the bench. So I would have liked to see. Okay, I'm not a big fan of Michelle Prince. I think everybody knows that right now. I've never been. I think she has her place in the national team, but not as a starter. So I feel that Marie-Yasmine Lamidou being up front with Jessie Fleming in the midfield, I think that would have been better for that team and for creating chances. This is what I think, and unfortunately, we haven't seen that. And even when in the second half, when the changes were made, Sima Woodrow went out and Jesse Fleming went in for Sima Woodrow. So creating that partnership of Woodrow and Fleming, this was a missed opportunity because they didn't play together. And for me, this is wrong, right? At the same time, that duo up front of Leon, Prince, and Becky, that trio, sorry, not really convinced and never been
Oh,
convinced.
I did not like Becky's game. I did not think Becky had a
Yeah,
good
and
game.
yeah, Becky was a bit lost too. So I don't know. I think the front three didn't click, and
No.
that was the really concerning thing. Sydney Tai tried to change things up, adding Olivia Smith and Deanne Rose. Again, it didn't really work. I don't know. I feel that you need to find that right chemistry with the front three that they didn't find yet, and this is concerning. Now, thank God, there's not a big competition coming, so we do have a lot
Yeah.
of time in order to build something. But as of right now, we haven't found the right combination up front.
One thing I did love, and it was a really big relief for me personally, was the back line. I
Yeah,
think that it was incredibly well run. Shalina Zadorsky had such a strong game. We talked about this a couple weeks ago when Alexandre Gangué-Russick was on
yeah,
the show, how important it is for her to kind of make her place now that Khadija Buchanan isn't available. Take
yeah.
this year to kind of really make her the third center back, and if they decide to go with the four back, be the third string center back, the first sub onto the field whenever you're rotating or subbing. And games like this where she was composed the entire time, she was a brick wall in possession. She was reliable, and she was a very good counterpart to Vanessa Gil. These are games that are important. I still think that if you're a back four, Jade Rose and Vanessa Gil in the midfield is a no brainer. But as a group of four, first of all, I'm so happy Jade Revere is back. Oh, I missed her so much.
I
Oh, I
know,
missed her so much.
I
She
know.
was I think. I mean, she was man of the match, and she was my man of the match, hands down. Just the energy she brings. I still don't love the space she leaves in behind. And now that you are playing with a four back, that is a little bit more dangerous. But going forward and in possession, she takes the initiative. And whenever it felt like the attack was stalling, she was kind of that instigator to kind of at least bring some pace and some energy back in. And that's her place. She's a spark plug, right? Going in attack. And I think that the two of them together are excellent. But I still need her to be a bit more defensively responsible now that there's only two center backs, because you don't have the speed of Jade Rose as an outside center back to cover for you if you get caught out. So against teams that have more pace going forward and are more lethal in transition, like the US, they'll kill you. So
So
I want to see.
you would see a back four with Jade Rose as a right back, with Gilles and Buchanan as center backs, and Ashley Lawrence on the left as a left back.
That's a cross that bridge when we get to it discussion, because Jade Rose has excelled in the right center back position
Yeah.
to the point where
You would go back to a back three then, if
yes,
everybody's
yes,
available.
if
Okay.
everybody's healthy, because the
Yeah.
thing is, Gilles, Buchanan, and Rose are all too good
Yeah.
to not be included.
Yeah.
At the
I
end of the
agree.
day, when you're a national team, it's not about philosophy. It's about getting your best players on the pitch and
Of
getting the
course.
best out
I
of them.
agree with you.
And
100%.
Riviere, Rose, Buchanan, Gilles, and Lawrence
Yeah.
put that back line against any back line in the world. And I don't
Yeah.
hate it.
I have
So take it
two
away.
other questions for you because we agree on those two. Two other questions for you. The first thing, how can you explain not giving minutes to your young blood
Yeah.
when you're playing a friendly game against a team that you should beat, where it's still a 0-0 scoreless draw? And in my opinion, getting a 0-0 with the veterans or getting a 0-0 with the young blood is completely different. And right now, the only 4 changes that you did, Deanne Rose coming in. She's been here for a while. Jessie Fleming, she's been here for a while. Olivia Smith, she's been here for a while. I'm happy that Lisanne Proulx got her
Shout out
first
Lisanne Proulx.
cap. But like, she's a goalkeeper, right? So
Yeah.
the rest, we had Janet Okeke, we had Megan Reed, we had Nia Rose, we had Geneva Hernandez Gray. All those didn't get minutes. Should have been capped, in my opinion. And then you have the other players that are trying to prove themselves to get into the squad more often, like Larissa Larisi, that I think could have done something. Emma Regan, that could have done something too. So it's a bit weird. And no Gabrielle Card either. So what do you think about the management of the squad from Cindy Tai and her staff, right?
See, that is prototypical interim manager stuff, where I'm in a friendly, and I kind of want to steer the course, and I want to give the usual people their usual minutes, and I want to look good, and I want to get a win. Because if you are the manager, and let's say you have a contract until the next World Cup, until 2027, then you could say, I want to see as much as I care. I don't care if we draw Iceland. I really don't care. Mm-hmm. But if you're the interim manager, you also want to show maybe some results, and you want to kind of not necessarily make a name for yourself, but show, hey, look,
make your name for yourself, and
exactly,
in case you're applying also for the position,
right? Like, you throw your name in the hat and you say, I also have X amount of wins under my belt and whatever.
Yeah.
So I think that's my takeaway, is the fact that with a permanent manager, not all of them, but I'm saying at least probably maybe 1 or 2 at the very least get minutes in the second half. And I hope we see a significant change against South Korea, which is going to be an even bigger.
That's my next question. Next question.
So, because I'd love to see that.
So what would be your starting 11 against South Korea?
I want them to keep the formation.
The same starting 11?
No, formation, just the shape.
The formation. Okay,
the 4-5-1. Keep the same shape.
4-2-3-1.
I'd love to see Megan Reed get a look, because again, you get her she's dual national, and you get her. You kind of want to reinforce that you want to send a message to all the other dual nationals that you pick Canada, you're going to get playtime and you deserve it, right? Because again, she is an NWSL mainstay. She's not young, but she has experience. She has a lot of strength. And I think that it's a really good pickup to have, especially when you're missing someone like Adisha Buchanan, who is an imposing and sure-footed presence. I think you should give her a start. Jenna Keke, who's captain and who's been through your national development program since she was like 15, I think. So the last for last couple years, she's been through every single level of the national team. Yeah, but she's been through the 16s and the 17s and the 8 and the under 20s and all that stuff, right? And she knows, and she has some familiarity with your manager when you were the U20 coach, and you have Janet Okeke, who is one of your more reliable players in that team. She makes a step to the senior team. Give her a minute. Clarissa Larisse, who is in mid-season form now, I want to see her start, because again, you are one of the established players there. In the midfield, I still want to see what a midfield of Simi Wujo, Jessie Fleming, and Julia Grosso can do together as a midfield 3.
I agree.
Because I think they complement each other so well. Yeah. And when you look at the players called up, I don't feel like we're putting any of the youth aside. They can come on as substitutions, but as starters, I don't think any of them if you don't start them, it's the end of the world in the midfield. I want to see what the 3 of them can do, because we are so long overdue to see what this midfield 3 as a unit, if they could control the game, take over the game, and enforce their will. That's what I want to see.
Mm. So you would play then, if I understand correctly. So you would go with Jade Riviere and Ashley Lawrence again as your fullbacks
No, I'd give Gabriel Carl a run at fullback.
on the left
On the
and on the
left,
right.
Jade Riviere hasn't been there in a while. Give Ashley Lawrence a break. She does so much work for
Okay.
Chelsea and for the
In a
national team.
goalkeeping position, Kieran Sheridan, you would go back with
Yeah,
her.
she did. I mean, she didn't play
Yeah.
against Iceland, so yeah, give her.
In the center of defense, so you said Megan Reed and Vanessa Gilles or Janina Zadorsky?
Vanessa
I
Gilles.
would go with Vanessa Gilles.
Yeah, you still need some element of stability.
Yeah,
You can't
exactly.
go full experimental.
And in the middle, then you said Timia Woodrow, Julia Grosso, and Jessie Fleming.
Yeah.
On the right, I suppose Clarissa Larisi because she's a right winger.
Exactly.
On the left, honestly, on the left, I would go with Geneva Hernandez Gray.
I haven't seen enough of her. I'll take your word for it because I want Olivia Smith up top. She
No.
has to start. She
As a
has to start.
striker?
Would you rather her on the wing?
Yeah.
So she goes on the left, and who do you have up top?
You don't have a lot on top. That's the problem. That's the problem.
I mean, you could put Adriana Leon as the striker. I mean, that is right. But I want to see Olivia Smith. She deserves more starts. She is in incredible form with Liverpool. She was in incredible form in Portugal. You have to, at some point, you need to reward this. Or you can't keep on overlooking players that are absolutely on fire for their national team and keep on going to the well with the same attackers that are not getting you results and are not showing you the attacking play you want to see. And then it's like the definition of insanity, right? You're doing it over and over again, expecting different results. Do something different, please.
Yeah.
Please.
And you do have Nia Rose, right? The sister of Jade Rose, that is a striker and could play up front. So that's something interesting too. So I don't know. It's going to be an interesting take, but I think that all those players should have minutes in those two friendlies.
Absolutely.
And I think it was a missed opportunity, as I said, to not have played them against Iceland. So hopefully we'll see a bit more on that front from the coaching staff. It's going to be an interesting game on Tuesday. We'll be able to talk about it, of course, next week in our
episode
of The Ball is Round. Elias, thank you very much for taking time with me today. I think we had a great pod today. Thanks everyone for being here with us as usual. We always tell you this podcast is always going to be free. It's always going to be free because we want to give everybody a chance to listen to, a soccer content for free. But of course, at the same time, we want to grow that product. We reached so many milestones this season. We had Matt Doyle last week. We've been trying to get some work, to get more guests, to get more interesting things on the podcast. But for that, we need Patreons for sure. To help us grow that product. So if you are an avid listener and want to help us, feel free to join our Patreon page. And just for like $5-6 a month, you can do a lot of good, of course, and help us bring that podcast to the next level. This is it for tonight. See you next week for next episode of The Ball is Round.